Alright, welcome back everyone. So you see what I have on the screen here. This is what I want to get to. So we see the data frame. We're filtering it. We're adding filters to this string column. So the name, we can, everyone whose name begins with a letter J. Let's filter for that. Cool. And then we have pagination set up down here. So you can see we have 19 pages if we do 100 pages, 100 rows per page. So we can do 20, it'll go back to 93. We have these options here to go to the last page, go to each other page. So yeah, let's enhance this thing. Let's get into it. Alright, to start off, what we need to do is we're going to go back to the top and we're going to import another thing. This is going to be Grid Options Builder. So what this is going to allow us to do is this is going to allow us to actually build the grid the way that we want. So if we come down here to the toggle, we will do the convention is usually to call it GB for Grid Builder. So we'll go Grid Options Builder. And then we're going to build that from a data frame. And that's going to be the DF that we pass in. And then, so now we can go ahead and make the actual grid options that we want. So we're going to say grid options equals gb.build because we want to build it first. And then, so grid options, we can access this kind of like a dictionary. So we can say this has options in here for pagination is 1. So we can set that equal to true. And then we can just copy this guy down here and say pagination auto page size. So this is going to automatically determine the optimal number of rows to have per table. And then instead of just passing the data frame, we also need to pass the actual grid options that we have. So you can see from the documentation that VS Code gives us that grid options is a parameter that we can set. So we'll set that equal to our variable for grid options. And we'll go ahead and just assign a Streamlit key to this. Just good practice to have that. And we'll go ahead and save that. Alright. So now we have the pagination set up. Great. Alright, now how about we, instead of having it automatically find the page size, if we set this to false, and then refresh, then you see you have a page size option here. So it defaults to 10, 50, and 20 right here. But what we can do is we can also, there's another command. I'm just going to copy and paste this one because it's largely the same. Oops, not grid options. Grid underscore options. So pagination page size selector. So this you can actually override the default settings so that you can have the actual sizes that you want in there. So let's take a look at that. Okay, great. So now we can do 10 per page, we can do 5 per page, which is a lot, that's 200 pages now. And just a reminder that that's already limited by the sample size that we have. So if we do 10,000 and then have 5 per page, we're going to have 20,000 pages. So that's a lot of pages right there. So now what we're going to work on is I want to add filters to the name column because I think that'd be pretty useful. So for now we'll just comment this and call this pagination just to kind of logically group it. And then for this command I'll copy and paste this and then I'll explain it. It's kind of a longer one. Okay, so this, we're saying that when you see the name column, we want to recognize that as a text column and assign the filter AG text column filter. So the way that, I don't see a lot of tutorials online doing this as well, but the way that you can find that out is when you hover over configure column here. You see that this one is nice. This one links directly to the actual documentation, which I have pulled up. So that leads to this page right here. Now what we can do is we can filter for the filter keyword, I guess. So we'll go to column filters. And so we can see how this is kind of working. So we have a text filter, a number filter, a date filter, etc. And if we go to the code tab here, there. So you see these strings of, you see AG number column filter, set column filter. If you scroll down, you see AG text column filter. So that is kind of where you get those strings that you recognize. Now before we go further, I just wanted to show you a mistake that I made. So if you have configure column, if you're calling this method after you've already built the grid, then if we pull this up, we get an error here when we try to display the raw data. So the reason this is happening is because this configure column method needs to happen before we actually build. So if we just grab this guy right here and cut and paste it up here and then save and have the app rerun. Beautiful. Okay, so now we have filtering on the name. Okay, so now we have filtering on the name, which is great, but what about all of these other string columns here? Well, what we can do for that is we can loop through everything in the data frame, detect everything that's an object, and then we can use that to create that column. So we'll put a for loop for this. We'll just say, so for call in the data frame, and then we want to select all of the data types, I mean, and say include equals. So we've used this before, the include keyword. So what do we want to include? This is a list of the data types, so we want to find everything that's an object, right? And do a dot columns on that because that's the data frame, so we want the actual columns. So now call will be the columns, so we just tab this in, and then instead of name here, we can now just say call, and if we save that and bring that back over, okay, beautiful. So we have region, so we can do like everything in the south, for example. Great. Okay, now so there's one more thing that I'd like to do, And so this one, let me show you, is if we go over here to gender, it'd be nice since there are only a few options here that we can choose from. So to have a string filter, I mean, yeah, we can do that, but it'd be nice to actually like have a set to choose from, just sort of like you do in Excel when you have like an enum type. So unfortunately, so this is the feature that we want here, a set filter. This is what doing this. If we check out the preview for country, this is what has the selection here. So unfortunately, this is an enterprise feature. So we don't have enterprise. This uses the community edition by default. So what we can do to get around this though is this is where Streamlit comes back in. And we can set a list of the gender options which are populated from the data frame. So say gender options equals df gender. So create a data frame just of everything from the gender, and then we want a unique list of that. And we want to set that to a list. And yeah, we want quotes around this whole thing too. So we'll do that. And that'll give us that. So then what we want is we'll have a multi-select box in Streamlit. So that will allow us to select multiple of the gender options. So we just say st.multi-select. We'll just call it, just say gender for right now. And then for the options, that'll just be the gender options here. And save that. Oh, did I? Oops, forgot a comma. List us no attribute unique. So that was another syntax error on my part. There's supposed to be no quotes around this. And I'm also blind apparently, so this is actually supposed to, we don't want this with the scatter plot, we want this under the toggle. So we'll just fix that. Tab that in and save. And then bring this over. And raw data. Okay. So we've got the options in here. This only says male because it's just a sample size of 1,000. So if we change that to 100,000, then we have these other options. But obviously this multi-select it's not going to do anything for right now. So what we want to do to be able to actually filter the data frame is we'll just bring in this code here, and then I'll talk about what it does in a sec. So, okay. Oh, that's right. So we want to say selected genders here to put this in a variable. Okay, so gosh, I should stop coding when I'm tired. So this selected genders it's going to be a list now, right? So what we're doing is we're setting the data frame equal to the data frame only where the gender column of the data frame is in the list of the selected genders. and that's only applicable if we actually have a selected list. So if the user hasn't selected anything, then we just want to display the entire data frame. So with that, if we save this and then have it rerun, then if we do only females, and then go to gender, you see you only have females in here. Whereas if we put males back in, then you'll start seeing some males back in there too. Alright, so that is all that I have for you guys for this one. I'm just showing you some cool features of AgGrid and Streamlit component in general. So I hope that you take away something from that. There's a lot that you can do with Streamlit. It's pretty cool. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.